howdy, hello, and welcome to yet another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. On tonight's episode, we will be breaking down Tracey Gets Bugged. I, of course, am Dougie Fresh, one of your hosts, and joining me on the other line this evening is a man who doesn't know the meaning of the word quit. It's Professor Chris G. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I'm great, bro. How are you doing? Happy
I
New
feel like
Year.
we've been talking for an hour and a half.
I
Happy
know.
New Year.
Yeah, we were supposed to do a double show today, and me and you. It shows when we don't talk on the phone for a while, how much catching up we got to do, and we talked for a good hour and a half, so we're only doing one episode tonight.
Yep, because I love doing the show, but I'm not going to be doing the show past midnight just for some regular old episodes. No offense.
Yeah, no offense, but yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing this show from my brand new laptop. So because the old one didn't want to recognize my microphone anymore for some odd fucking reason.
Yeah, this is our. Well, it's technically only our second one. I mean, we were sitting down to record the other day before certain things happened. So this is really just our second attempt to sit down because we didn't really get out the blocks the other day.
Nope.
Um, and I mean, you didn't go into it, so I mean, it's your thing to go into if you want to. But you had some technical issues over the break, essentially.
Oh, I had a scary one. So everybody, always back up your shit. um, so I had just so we didn't get hacked or anything, because normally I upload all of our episodes basically as soon as I'm done editing. But me being scared, I got scared of uploading our movie episode to have some person maybe hack or get a hold of some credentials or whatnot and leaking the upload. So I kept it on my computer, but not on my external. Well, right before Christmas, my laptop took a dump. Like it completely crashed. Like everything just went off. Didn't want to turn on. Didn't even want to load up Windows or anything. So I thought we had lost our movie review, which was scary because we were going to have to record it again, and you guys were not going to get a Christmas treat. But luckily, me being a techie, I ended up going into the BIOS and into the system hardware itself and was able to obtain that stuff. And then I was able to back boot Windows back onto the computer as well. But with me doing that, for some reason, everything else works. But when it comes to my microphone, it does not want to recognize a microphone anymore. It's an older laptop, everybody. It's an Acer Nitro 5, if any of you techie geeks out there know. But it's an older laptop, made probably like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. But did not want to recognize my microphone anymore. So luckily I had a brand new laptop that I have kept basically in its box besides using it to like do some Nintendo Switch stuff every now and then. But yeah, I had to kind of dust off this brand new laptop and finally put it to some use, and hopefully that it has enough life in it for at least the next 3 4 years, because I tend to use my computers very heavily before I have to go out and get another one. But luckily I had this one just stashed away in the back. But it's nice. I do like this HP laptop. I had to get used to it.
I told you to knock it off on the porn.
It wasn't the porn. Uh, but But yeah, very, very scary time for, because it wasn't even just that, but there were some episodes that I hadn't even edited at the time that I was doing all of that, and we almost lost out on episodes that we had already recorded, almost lost out on a full movie. It was a shit show. And it was a shit show for like 48, 72 hours, however long I had to give you that dreaded phone call and just tell you, yo, I have some bad news. Are you sitting down? And you know it's not going to be a good phone call when I ask you, are you sitting?
And I had resigned myself to redoing the movie. Like I had made my peace with that. I knew we weren't going to lose anything else because I had the episodes we hadn't touched on my end that I could have just sent over, and I was okay with that, and I had just resigned myself to getting in a headspace to redoing the movie probably after the holidays.
Yeah.
They're like, I have no way of getting back, and I was like, well, I know how tenacious you are, and you're gonna overturn every stone. You're gonna
Somehow.
go you're gonna go through every avenue. And I got that call probably a couple days after that, and you're like, I'm a genius. I was like, so he figured something out. And then he was like, I'm moving everything over to an external as we speak, and if we're good, we're good. Because yeah, it was either we redo the movie, which is what we were leaning towards, or it was going to be delayed because you would have had to go back in and like re-edit because I'm an idiot. Well, not an idiot, but I would have gotten us kicked off. Um, and you're like, I don't have that kind of time to commit, and I was like, fair enough, because you had said that was a lot of editing,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it was.
you know you've got a life.
That was 4 hours of editing and fine comb toothing. Because nothing against some of our regular episodes, but when you listen to our movie reviews, I'm sure you can tell that those episodes are a little bit more defined than our regular show that we normally put out for all of you guys. Because I go through and I basically fine comb tooth it because I want those take a lot of time. Not that our regular episodes that you're hearing like today does, but those take so much time that I just want to make sure that those special ones that we do sounds superb for all of our audience. And I hope everybody that ended up listening to the to the movie review, enjoyed it. I hope people that listen to it on the Patreon really enjoyed it because that was 4 hours of content, and I hope that got you by the 2 weeks that we didn't put anything else out for that time frame. But you guys are used to that. We don't normally put out new content after we put out our movie. We give you a good 2 weeks, and then we'll put out a fresh episode on the new year. So that's normally our thing, and we're not switching it. So yeah, it would have been a lot, and I was really really dreading having to go back through because I think what we captured on the first recording would not have been captured on the second. I think even though it was 4 hours that we went through on the first recording, you might have lost maybe an hour because we may have rushed it. We may have gotten a little frustrated. We may have started talking fast during certain spots, and you wouldn't have gotten the magic that we gave you in the first run. I guess you could say,
And
right? Right, Doug?
no, we would have dreaded it. I mean, we could try to put on a brave face, but we would have been kicking ourselves the whole time.
Yep. So, but You're listening to this in February on the free feed, everybody. Everybody on the Patreon, you're listening to this a couple weeks after we recorded. But this is our first recording of the new year, which is why I said Happy New Year at the beginning of the show. We have a great episode. It's better than the previous Canto episode. It's better than the Meowth episode. But
You say don't lie to the people. Don't.
it's better than Meowth. But we do have a great episode coming up here for you. Everybody that's listening here on YouTube, thank you for taking the time to listen. I do see that our subscribers aren't really going up in total, but we are going up within views on YouTube. And for people that are looking for us on YouTube, if you didn't know, you can search us at Pokey Breakdown on YouTube, just like you do on Twitter. So go ahead and
Yes.
click that subscribe button. It doesn't help. It doesn't help anything more of you seeing us or anything, but it lets us know that we're doing a good job. If you're already listening to us and you're not subscribed on there, it just helps us know that we're doing a good job. So just hit that subscribe button. We'll still pop up in your feed because for some reason YouTube does not like some of these reviews, and they are making it extra hard to find us on there. So now you can find us at Pokey Breakdown. We actually got an at on our page now, and we were savvy enough to be able to get that. So yeah, it's there, right, Doug?
All right. All right. Did
So
not know that, but I'll take it.
yeah, for some reason, because when you look up every Pokemon episode ever podcast on YouTube, we don't come up anymore. Like, for some reason, that's not in the search engine anymore for our show. So people actually have to search us at Poke Breakdown or miraculously come through when they type in the name of an episode that they're trying to view, and then we'll come up. But looking us up by show, YouTube don't like that.
Hmm.
And I don't know why, but yeah, they don't like that. So yeah, you have to search us at Pokey Breakdown now. But we got enough views on there to where we were able to get an at, because YouTube was kindly enough to send us an email saying, "Oh, all right, so you can get an at, but you're not verified yet." But so come on, help us get
That,
verified, people.
I was gonna say, but that's coming.
Yeah, it is. So once we get enough subscribers and we get enough people watching us for the hours, however they calculate the hours watched or listened on YouTube, then we'll be verified. But I mean, we have a little bit of a ways. I'm guessing, hopefully, within the year that can happen as long as we keep promoting it. But other than that, yeah, just go ahead and subscribe. Like I said, it doesn't do anything more for us popping up for you, but it does let us know we're doing a good job, and it helps us get verified in the future. So
Right.
yes. But we do have a good episode coming up. Today's episode is called Tracey Gets Bugged, or translated from Japanese, The Strike Soldier's Pride, which premiered May 20th, 1999, and here in the States, April 1st, April Fool's Day in 2000. So,
So we could.
we never did put out a April Fool's thing for our fans. We should do that sometime.
No, we thought about it,
Yeah, we
and I
did.
think I know what we would do. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say that because I don't want to ruin anything. Obviously, I think I know what we would do.
I think I do too. And I think I'm reading your mind, but we'll talk off air.
Oh, yeah, obviously, we're not just going to come out and say it.
Yes. When does
But yeah,
April Fool's Day land this year? Let's see. 2023, April
probably
Fool.
the probably the 1st of April.
It lands on Saturday. Oh, okay. Okay. There's something we can do with that.
doesn't really help us in terms of the show.
No, not really, but we can do something. We'll figure something out. But now we're telling our audience, but maybe only a select few people are listening to this episode, and they will not know that we are going to put out something for April Fool's Day in 2023 at some
Yeah,
time.
they saw Tracey gets bugged and they said, to heck with it. We'll catch him next week.
Yeah, which is a lot better episode, everybody. Not by much. But all right, so we are here. Before we do get into this, Doug, did you have a good Christmas and New Year's? I know people again are listening to this in February or in a couple weeks, but did you have a good holiday?
Yes, Christmas was very good, very low key. I got to hang out with family, and New Year's was pretty much more of the same. And I don't know if I've said this in previous years. And if I have, you feel free to skip ahead. I don't understand the fascination with fireworks on New Year's.
I don't either. They were definitely popping them off by my place, but it's funny. I kind of fucked up something on New Year's. I guess I can say. So we watched college football
Mm.
on New Year's, and then we ended up turning on Avatar, and then I was not logged into my ABC app for the countdown, so we completely missed the countdown.
Ah,
Trying to get out of the movie. We were watching the new Avatar movie, and we were getting out of that, and I was told last minute, "Oh my gosh, you got to put on the countdown." I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I'm sitting there scrambling, trying to put on the countdown, and then by the time I get the app on, everybody's saying, "Oh, it's already 12 o'clock," and then all of a sudden, ABC comes on the TV, and everybody's kissing each other. They're like, "Happy New Year!" Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, "Oh shit." We're not hosting New Year's anymore, are we?
ah,
So, are you ready to go ahead and start this week's episode, bro?
I definitely am.
All right. Well, that being said, I'm getting the episode on the timeline right now, and our heroes finally land on a new island. Do you want to? Why don't you start this week off, bro, while I'm getting the time thing up here with Venonet?
So we're getting ready to stop on Maricot Island, and it says it looks peaceful, but we'll see, you know, what's in store, and we get either one of the two standard shots. We either see Lapras in the water, or we see Lapras being thanked and returned to its Pokeball, which we get the latter. And Tracey calls out his Venonat and Meryl, and you know, Meryl looks cute, and Venonat just looks like a purple cotton ball.
It
And
does.
Ash is like, "Oh boy, Tracey, you're really kind of up today. What's going on?" And Tracey's like, "Oh, I've had this island circled for a while." Um,
And then a Beedrill just flies by Misty and she just freaks out.
yeah, Misty just immediately just falls into her W sit position, and she's like, "Did you all see that Beedrill?" And Beedrill just flies off, and Misty's like, "Oh boy, that was a big one." And Tracy's like, "Oh, that's one of the main reasons I'm excited to be here. There's all types of bug Pokemon on this island."
Which is
And
Misty's favorite, everybody.
Misty could just about crawl into a Pokeball herself, because if anybody remembers, I don't. I can't tell you the name of the episode, but it's the initial one
Oh,
where
where she meets Ash?
well, there's that one, and then there's the one with the Caterpie where Misty's like spending the entire episode basically running away from a little Caterpie.
Oh, Pokemon I Choose You, episode 1.
It is episode one, so there you go.
Yes.
So Misty has had a long and storied history with bug type Pokemon, but Ash, being Captain Gung Ho, is just ready, and he just takes off running.
We need to catch these bug Pokemon.
And Tracey, trying to be ever inclusive, is like, "Oh, are you coming, Misty?" And she's like, "No, no, I'll be me and Togepi. We're just gonna stay here. I'm just gonna work on my tan. I'll be perfectly fine." And Togepi's like, "Well, I if it was up to me, I'd be going because it seems like I'm gonna have more fun over there."
For real.
And Tracy's like, "Oh, come on, are you serious?" And Ash, of course, is all too happy to um
He's too happy to leave her behind. He's like, she's afraid of bug Pokemon. And Tracy's like, oh, Misty's a chicken. and she and she just stomps on Tracy's foot and she's like, who the heck are you calling a chicken? And Tracy's like, did I say chicken? And Pikachu's like, Pika, I must have meant good thing. He's like, I was just checking if you were I'm just checking to see if you really do like bug type Pokemon. Trying to like fold back, and then we get the title sequence.
so we see that Meryl and Venonat are kind of leading the charge, and um they both stop, and you see their ear. Well, Meryl's ears and Venonat's antenna switch, and they both turn in the same direction. And Tracy's like, "Ah, they must be onto something." And Misty just immediately goes into chicken shit mode, and she's like, "What kind of something?" And she's like, kind of cowering behind Ash a little bit. And Tracy pulls out some binoculars, and he sees a field of Caterpie, and he's like, "Ah, I haven't caught a Caterpie in a long time."
and she pulls Ash by the ear and tells her, "Yeah, if you catch another Caterpie, you'll let it go, just like you did your last Butterfree." Oh, she doesn't say that.
But she should have.
Yes, she should have.
And um, and then Venonat and Meryl start perking up. They're excited, and Tracy's like, "Ah, there must be something um behind that bush." And Misty's like, "As long as it's not a Caterpie, who really cares?" And she's like, she's like mad now. And a pincer pops out of the bush, and Misty turns around, and her eyes just go completely freaking like the size of like peas. And
I do like the way
ah!
that they do the water or the teardrop on the side of the head in this episode. Every single time that Misty gets it, they actually draw in like a blue water like underneath in the like little teardrop. And I just want to, because they did it at the beginning of the episode and they're doing it again here. So just a nice little screen cap of a close up of Misty's face.
It's a little visual touches that make certain stuff stand out.
Yes.
So Misty takes off running in the other direction. She's like, "A pincer is much worse than a Caterpie," and all of this is going on, and she still has Ash by the backpack. So Ash is getting drug around like a rag doll, and by extension, poor Pikachu is as well. Although Pikachu could jump off if it really wanted to.
But hey,
Uh,
on another note, Misty's making her next and final appearance in Ash's journey again, and so is Brock. They're coming back to the final episodes of Ash on his journey.
they should bring everybody back. They should bring back Tracy. They should bring back Richie. They should bring back the kids that we we talk about in episodes, and I ask you, do we ever see them again? And you just say no. They should just bring everybody back.
Yes.
So we see that Miro and Venonat are leading everybody again, and Tracey kind of goes into why they're so special. You know, Venonat has his radar eyes,
Meryl has its
and
ears.
and yeah, he says, "Oh, they make a great team." And he's like, "Well, at least one positive about them is they're not bug types." And um,
Venonat is a bug type.
Venonat very much is a bug type. Um, and then they stop, and you see Miro's ears twitching, and Venonat's kind of uh, focusing, and they're focused on a spot off in the clearing. And
So
Missy's
they
like, "Oh, come on, wait for me," and
she won't be saying that in just a second.
the camera pans over, and we see a wounded Scyther.
Yes. The Mantis Pokemon.
Its claws are as sharp as swords, and it's a powerful flyer.
Yes. This
Um,
Pokemon is rarely seen by humans and almost never captured.
oh, subtle, maybe a little bit of foreshadowing for a little later on here.
Just a little bit. Well, I mean, and it kind of foreshadowing in the video game as well, because how hard is it to capture Scyther in the original game? Don't you get it in like the Safari Zone or something like that, and you only get one shot? Otherwise, it flies away and then you don't see it again?
Yeah, you have to get it in the Safari Zone, and if you don't get it, you have to like one of those things where you have to kind of save scum a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you save, and it's like, okay, if I get a Scyther here, I'm good, and then you don't get it's like, ah, shit, and you back out, you
Or you go and
go
capture
through that again.
60 Tauros and never use them.
That's the Ash Ketchum method.
All right, but to continue this episode, um, Tracey tries to go down and give Scyther some potion, and Scyther just bounces back. And you can tell because its wings are all battered, he is all dirty, and Scyther is trying to, or he grows suspicious of Tracey and the gang, and it's like, I'm gonna battle you. What are you trying to do? And Ash comes out. He's like, "Man, Scyther, we only want to help you." And Scyther's like, "Scyther!" And
I was at Scyther basically standing up and, like you said, being weary of them trying to help. And Tracy's big idea was, well, if I catch it, I can take it to a Pokemon Center. And so Ash is like, "Are you sure?" And Tracy's like, "Yeah, because it's gonna try to fight us otherwise." And Ash is like, "Okay," and he looks at Pikachu, and Pikachu's getting ready for a thunder shock, and Tracy's like, "Wait." Um, Tracy's like, "It's way too weak to fight. You know, Pikachu's electric attack, might be the end of it." And Ash is like, "Well, we can't leave it." And Tracy's like, "Well, no, that's why I'm going to catch it, and we're going to take it to a Pokemon Center." And
because Ash's dumb butt went and threw a damn Pokeball while it's in fighting stance, and the Pokeball just gets knocked away.
right, so Tracy, of course, is able to use a little bit of logic and has Venonat use sleep powder to basically incapacitate the Scyther because Scyther tries to use its strength and kind of fly up to avoid the powder, but obviously it's too weak and it can't do that. So it basically ends up sitting back down and falling asleep via the powder. And then Tracy throws a Pokeball, and it doesn't. We don't even get like the dramatics of like the three shakes and then the bling. It's
It,
just basically like, okay, I've got it now. Let's go to the Pokemon Center.
yep. Which how do you feel about that?
I mean, obviously, I have the benefit of knowing the end of the episode, so I kind of feel like it's vindicated at the end. But if I'm watching this for the first time, I'm going, that's kind of a cheat. You know, you just make a big deal about how rare it is to not only see a Scyther, but to
And
capture
Ash
one.
Ash tried to capture it as well. That's just a slight at Ash.
And that's kind of a slap in the face to Tracey.
Yeah.
You know, you saw how excited Tracey was to be on the island, and Ash just kind of gets, you know, big eyes and says, "Oh, Pokemon must catch because it's my show." Like, lay back, dude.
So, all right. And from here, this is where we get Team Rocket looking out with binoculars, and a bee drill comes up and just flies right through their balloon. And then they're just plummeting towards the ground. Meowth is the funniest because Meowth is so light that he can just fly out of the balloon as they're going down. So he's holding on for dear life with all of its claws. And then all of a sudden they just crash into the middle of the forest. And then you see the balloon is all beat up. Team Rocket is crawling from underneath the balloon. And Jesse's like, man, that was a gigantic letdown. And then they see some Caterpie and a Weedle. And then they see a Venomoth, a Metapod, a Paris. And they notice that they are in what looks like a big bug central area. And then that's when they come across all these Scyther. And then you have one that has an X on its head, and you can tell that that's the leader because he's the toughest Scyther of them all. And they're like, oh no. And that Scyther comes right on him and comes right on down and just slice. And from there, you just hear Jesse like, ah! And then we fast forward over to a Pokemon Center with a Nurse Joy with a green cross on her hat.
Oh, didn't even track the cross. It's been so long since we encountered a Nurse Joy and a Kanto.
I
It makes
know.
sense because obviously bug types, grass, green, and we see that she's tending to. I mean, I guess you could rightfully call it Tracey's Scyther, although it's not really acknowledged until later. And you can see like the amount of bandages, and you can see that there's an IV. Like, poor Scyther kind of went through the ringer here.
Yeah,
And
I did.
um,
Do you think
and
it
she's like,
has anything to do with that Scyther that we just saw, Doug, with Team Rocket? Hmm.
if I was a betting man, I might put a little bit of money on it. And Ash is like, it was so weak, but it just wouldn't stop. And it's like he's almost like he's mad at us. And Misty's like, yeah, look how it's staring at Tracy, and it is just giving him the absolute death stare
Like,
as
did
he's
you
laying
really
on.
capture me? You captured me? Just mad.
And Tracy's just got like the concern slash derp face, and the light on the needle uh goes off, and Tracy or Nurse Joy and Chansey come out of the examination room, and Nurse Joy's like, Scyther is still very weak, and it's going to take a few days for it to get its strength back.
And
Tracy's like, how do you feel, Scyther? And Scyther basically says, how do you think I fucking feel?
and then Nurse Joy is like, it looks like it was beat out of its pack. And Tracy is like, well, how do you know that Scyther used to be the leader of the whole swarm? And she's like, well, the older Scyther only could have gotten beaten by with those injuries by another Scyther. And then they all put two and two together. It's like, oh, to stay leader. And Ash is like, I guess that other Scyther must have been stronger. No, duh. and
It's
they
usually
go
how that shit works.
and they go into the whole spiel that um for Scythers to keep going in their pack, one of the lower Scythers comes up and challenges the leader, and then takes out the leader. And then once it takes out the leader, it is now leader of the entire pack, and it's a continuing circle that they go through as Scythers. So, Doug.
And they were like, "How come Scyther was by itself when we found it?" And Nurse Joy is like, that's part of the territory. When you lose a battle for leadership, you're kicked out of the swarm, and you have to float around and basically find another swarm to challenge for that leadership. And um, you know, it, basically, Scythers are no good on their own, and they must always be striving to be number one. And you zoom in on Tracey, and Tracey's kind of like, "How about that shit?" And um, we fade over, and they're on a phone call with Professor Oak, and he's like, you should be proud of yourself,
Not many
for
people get a Scyther.
which again is kind of the frustrating part about how he did it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the capture wasn't the important part. The important part was getting it so it would be able to be brought to the Pokemon Center, because obviously it can't be helped out in the wilderness. But Tracy's not so up his own ass. He's like, it wasn't a real capture. Um, and Ash is like,
What do you
trust
mean?
me,
Of course it was real.
as a guy who's only caught maybe two or three of his Pokemon legitimately, trust me, you know it when you see it.
It went into the Pokeball. It counts.
I saw a supercut the other day of just Ash catching Pokemon throughout the different like seasons and versions and whatever. And I'll tell you what, the amount of times it was basically, oh, X Pokemon, do you want to join the journey? If I was taking a drink, I could have been slashed in like 5 minutes. Um,
Probably.
so yeah, Tracy's like, it wasn't really fair. It was injured. Um, um, you know, Oak is still trying to kind of hype Tracy up, because I mean it is still an accomplishment to catch a Scyther. Um, but he's like, the other thing that's bothering me is Scyther doesn't seem happy or relieved to be caught, and he seems like it's my fault. Um,
And it's right
and
there. That they kind of go through the realm of that it was kicked out of its swarm, and Professor Oak is like, you must try to get to help Scyther regain its confidence back, Tracy, and its strength in itself. And Tracy's like, right. And it's at that point that kind of uplifts Tracy just a little bit, to make him seem like he didn't just capture this Scyther just to capture it and have it be such a low rent capture, but now he has a way to kind of help Scyther, and that's what today's episode is going to be about. Even though we have a little less than 12, well, a little more than 13 minutes left in this episode.
and so yeah, I mean, and quite frankly, that's pretty good, because there's been some episodes where we don't get the quote unquote point of the episode until like 5 minutes out. So
Yes.
At least this gives us some stakes as we head towards the end. So then we transition to Team Rocket um, stumbling their way out of the forest, and they're like, "Oh boy, that was a close one," and they're all sweaty and beat up, and they look over at Jesse, and it's immediate like shock from Meowth and James. Meowth's eyes are as big as dinner plates, and um, James is like, "Jesse, I'm afraid your hair isn't there," and she's like, "The fuck are you talking about?" And she feels her head, the top of her head, and it's fine. And her hands go back, and
And it's gone.
it's hacked off. And she pulls out her little pocket mirror, and she looks, and it's basically hacked off where it would flow over her shoulder. And Jesse's like, "That's it. I'm gonna get that Scyther." And she takes
She
off
is so
running.
mad.
She takes off running back into the forest that they just stumbled out of. And
But not without James over here making every comment in the book about Jesse's hair.
and um you know, Meowth tries to talk some sense into her, and he's like, you're not gonna be able to face just that one Scyther. You're gonna have to contend with the whole swarm. And um and she's like, "Do you really think so?" And it's like, yeah, I am a Pokemon. I do know how they think.
So
And
and then they come up with a great idea like, well, we got to have a plan to go into this and into this whole thing. And we get a close up of Jesse with just a like what would you call that type of haircut? It's like all like shaved, but it's all like circular, like a mini fro.
like a
We
mini fro, it's almost like a messy pixie, almost like if her hair was a little more flat, but
It's like a Venonat.
it's like a Venonat. There you go. It's even pinkish. Like, well, I mean, it'd be more like a Lickitung if it was pink, but
Yes.
um, and yeah, I was kind of like, we could work it to get the whole swarm of Scyther to be on our side, and Jesse's like, "I don't give a shit about that. I'm gonna go get that Scyther for my hair." And she takes off running again. And Jesse and Meowth, or James and Meowth, have to physically tackle
Tackle
her
her.
to get her to stop. She's like running back into that forest like Derrick Henry. You're like, "You're not gonna fucking stop me." And she's just on the ground. She's like, she is fit to be tied. And um we see the little mini fro, like you said, and she's like, "I'll die before that happens." And then we're thrown right back into a serious moment.
Yep, back with Tracey inside of the Pokemon Center. And Tracey is talking to Scyther, and he's like, I know I captured you without battling, and you're a little mad about that, but I couldn't leave you out there all hurt all by yourself. I just knew or I just wish I knew what I could do to get you to be happy again. And Ash is like, you know what? I know what to do because, of course, Ash does. And he's like, there's no reason why Scyther couldn't challenge the new leader of the swarm to another battle. He's like, so why don't we get it nice and strong again and have it go out for a rematch? He's like, Scyther is a natural born warrior, so we can help him get his courage back and go and challenge the leader of the pack again. And this is when Misty just uses her one liner. She's like, well, I guess Ash had to be right about something sometime. Just to cut him right down, right by the knees. Doug,
Kick him right in the nuts while you're at it.
for real.
And Tracy leans down to Scyther and he's like, "How do you feel about that?" And and we could get you ready to um, you know, battle again. I'll even help you if you want. And um, you can see Scyther's kind of contemplating it, and we fade out to what I assume to be a commercial because
I
otherwise,
was thinking the same thing. This is probably one of those weird um kids WB where they didn't do the who's that Pokemon, or they have more than one commercial break because Pokemon's getting popular now, so we can't just have only one commercial.
right?
So
So we're back at Scyther headquarters, I guess, for lack of a better term, and the pack is at a watering hole, and Team Rocket's looking on from behind some bushes, and they're like, "Oh, they're taking a bath." And Jesse's like, "Good, I can get a shot at him, a clean shot at him." And Meowth pulls out a goddamn bazooka, and um,
and it has a whole bunch of
Jesse,
like sticky glue on the inside of the gun.
you
And
know all about that shit, don't you?
oh, do I? Peek behind the curtain. I'm not going to get into it, but our cat just recently got into a little bit of a messy situation the other day, just trying to be all curious. But but yeah, the glue shoots right out of the gun and catches all the Scyther off guard. And then Jesse's like, "Ah, I got you this time. I'm gonna get you for cutting off my damn hair."
She has a
And
good line. She goes, "That'll teach you to get snippy with me."
yeah, and then Meow goes and he shoots out a metal magic carp on a rope that ends up opening up, and there's a big old net on the inside, and it goes right down, and we're guessing that it captured all of the Scyther, and then we're thrown right back into the Pokemon Center. Doug?
Because Tracy's Scyther pops open its eyes in alarm, kind of like a Spidey sense kind of thing. And Tracy's like, "What's wrong, Scyther?" And um, Nurse Joy just happens to be in there. Um, looks like changing out some of Scyther's bandages, kind of seeing how he's progressing. And she's like, "Well, he still has a ways to go, but he is healing nicely." And
Scyther
Ash
doesn't
is
give
like,
no fucks.
"Ah, he'll be in fighting shape in no time." And just without warning, like you said, he doesn't care. He just raises up and just fucking he goddamn
Flew out of the window.
Rambo. He Rambos through a window. There was there was glass in that window.
And he just tackled the mess out of it and just went right through. And then they're like, "No, you're still hurt. Come back, Scyther. Scyther, come back." And he just falls onto the ground.
And Tracy jumps out the window, and you could see the beads of sweat forming as Scyther's struggling to stand up. And Tracy comes over and he goes, "You need to rest. You need to stay down." And Scyther's like, "Ah, away with you." And he pushes Tracy away and he goes flying off in the distance towards the scream of his pack. And Ash is like, "I'll bet you he's just so hard up he's going to go challenge for a rematch right now." And um,
Misty is like, "Man,
Misty's like,
but that's too dangerous." And Tracy's content. And he's like, He's like, I don't want to miss this, but if that's what Tracey or if that's what Scyther needs to do, then that's what he needs to do. And they all just start going running so they can go and watch this masterous battle. Doug.
Nurse Joy's like, okay, be careful out there. She's got a smile on her face for no damn reason. And then we come back, and as you speculated earlier, the entire swarm of Scyther is in fact in the net, still covered in glue, struggling and screaming, and Jesse's just over there cackling like Cruella de Vil,
Yeah.
and she's literally poking them with sticks, and she's like, you thought you could get away with cutting my hair, you little so and so. I'm gonna cut you down to size. Um, and Meow's like, oh, apparently things get messy when you mess with Jesse. And
Which is a great line, by the way.
then we have like a flashback of not a flashback, but like a dramatic reading of Jesse um
Walking up
talking about
towards walking up towards them.
talking about how her hair growing up was her only companion, and that's just awful. She's just crying, and then it just turns into this venomous sneer, and she's like, it's payback time. And she's like locking eyes with the leader, and then all of a sudden you see this flash and the Scyther fall from the net. But reminder, they're still covered in glue, so it's not like they're going to scatter. But then Tracey's Scyther comes down into focus, and you can just see, just by taking a quick glance, you can see how beat up it still is.
Yes.
And
It looks rough. It looks like my
Trace,
cat right now.
ah, that's good. um, and Tracy's Scyther kind of looks back at the leader, kind of like, I got this. And, Team Rocket's kind of still on their high horse. They're like, oh, you think one Scyther is going to scare us?
And then
And,
that's when our heroes run up and they're like, ah, the twerps.
and,
And then they just start laughing at Jesse.
yeah, they start busting Jesse's balls because it's the first time they've seen her new hairdo. And she's like, oh, how dare you? And she's got like the angry anime marks on her temples. And um she's like, and then they go into like a modified version of their motto.
She's like, prepare for trouble. And James comes right in. He's like, it used to be there, but now it's double.
And she's like, to protect my head from humiliation. And she throws out Arbok, and um James is like, it's too bad her hair went on vacation, and he throws out wheezing. Um and my gorgeous hair was my one true love. Once again, depressing. Throws out Lickitung.
They went together like a hand in a glove.
Victory Bell comes out and still chomps on James, and we get Jesse James. Um, she's like, now my hair is short, but it won't be for long, and we get like a side by side back shot, and we can see that Jesse and James's hair at the moment is essentially the same length,
Yes.
and
And it won't stop Jesse from doing what's wrong.
it's kind of a cool shot, and I don't remember without looking, but I don't think her hair stays like this. I think it's back to normal for the next episode, which is a missed opportunity.
It is, but I mean, it was probably days, so it probably grew back just a little bit, or she got extensions until it grew
And
back.
and then Meowth comes in, and Ash has a moment. He's like, "Where do they come up with this stuff?"
And they're laughing, and she's like, "It's not funny. One of they're doing another. All gonna pay for it. I just want my hair back." And Tracy is like, he's like, "So what are you gonna do to all of these Scythers now?" And James just comes in. He's like, "They're gonna be Team Rocket's new cutting edge fighting force."
That was pretty good. I didn't mind that.
I know that was good. It's better than the food references in black and white.
Very true. Very true. But that's also a very low bar.
Yeah, it is. All right, so Doug,
And so they're like, oh, and its first mission is, or their first mission is going to be to capture your Pikachu. And James tells Weezing to use smoke screen attack, and
yeah,
everybody's coughing, ha ha ha, and um,
Scyther uses sword dance.
sword dance. Okay, it wasn't identified.
Yes.
I guess it is. Ash pulls out his Pokédex as he protects his hat because that's a collector's item. Um,
And he's like, and all Dexter does is say what sword dance is, and we all know what it is. It's when a Pokemon spins around in a very, very fast circle and protects itself, and it's also used to fend off any type of smoke in the area.
and James is like, "Oh man, that was an awesome move." And Jesse comes in, "Whose side are you on?" And you can see just how much energy that one move took out of Scyther. And um, Tracy's like, "That's still weak."
and
And
and that's when Team Rocket notices how weak it is as well, and they just start laughing at Scyther. And Scyther gets determined at this point, and Meowth is like, "Oh, you're really scaring me." And James like, "What's it saying?" "It's saying I might not be the leader anymore, but I won't let you take them." And he's like it could stop us, huh? And we get a close up of all the Scyther with all the glue all over them again, and they're just looking on, and this beaten up Scyther is sitting there, and he's panting. He's determined to not let Team Rocket get away with all of these Scyther. And we get a close up of the leader Scyther, and he notices how determined this other Scyther is, the one that he beat, and it's getting inspired. Doug?
that's when Tracy basically says out loud what we, the audience, have figured out for the past 5 minutes. He's like, Scyther didn't come here to beat the new leader. It came to rescue its friends. And Pikachu's like, Pika. And Jesse's like, oh, you're not going to be able to touch us. And, you know, she basically sends out Arbok, Weezing, and Victor Bell
And Lickitung.
and Lickitung. And it's basically the four of Team Rocket's Pokemon versus Tracy's one beat up Scyther. And
Pikachu
um,
tries to run in, but Scyther's like, "No, I got this."
yeah, he throws out he kind of just puts out his one wing and just shakes his head no. And um, I was like, this big bad bug just told Pikachu it didn't need its help.
Because it thinks it can beat us all by itself.
And James is like, that's really awesome. And then they look at him again, and it's like I said, it's 4-on-1. It's something out of a Jackie Chan movie. And um, Ash is an idiot because he saw Pikachu try to go up to its side, and he saw Scyther shake his head no, and he's
Yes.
sitting there. Okay, Pikachu, let's help this Scyther out. Like, you idiot, read the
You
room.
don't. Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, did you not just see Scyther say no?
And Tracy has to basically hold Ash's hand and basically say he can't do that, Ash. this Scyther has to fight its battle by itself. And Ash is like, that's dumb. Why? And um, he's like, Scyther has something to prove to itself by itself. And Scyther kind of looks back at Tracey like, this motherfucker might be all right. And
And
he
Meowth tries to go in like an idiot on the wounded Scyther and just gets slashed right in the face. And Tracy's like, "Yeah, keep it up, buddy." And Scyther's like, "Yeah." And Victory Bell and Lickitung just go in and try to double team on him, and Scyther jumps up, and Victory Bell ends up eating Lickitung like it does James in every single episode, and then Tracey should not be helping Scyther in this battle. That looks really bad on Scyther that he can't think for himself. But Tracey is like, Arbok's coming for you, coming at you from below. Look out! And he's like, try double team. And Scyther does its double team attack and just starts forming all sorts of different Scyther in the air. And it confuses the mess out of Arbok. And Arbok goes down and crashes. Doug?
yeah, and Arbok got a lot of height there.
Yeah, he
And
did.
they're kind of celebrating, and you can see just how exhausted Scyther is, and they're cheering him on from the sidelines. And it's basically down to Victory Bell and Scyther, and Tracy's like, Victory Bell's going to use Razor Leaf, and Victory Bell springs to alert. He cuts the Razor Leaf to shreds, and Victory Bell's freaked out.
It's like, oh no!
And Scyther is just, oh god, this is bullshit. I shouldn't have gotten up from the bed. And
I should have just let them take all of the herd. I will make a new herd.
and Misty's like, how did you know it was going to use Razor Leaf? And Tracy's like, I could tell by the way Victory Bell was moving. And it's one of the perks of being a Pokemon watcher. And Jesse tells Arbok to use Poison Needle attack, and um, Scyther's just able to dodge and dodge again, and you can see that he's just winded, but he's still moving. And the the leader Scyther is just watching all this, and he's just in awe. And Arbok looks like he's coming in, and Scyther collapses, and he throws out another poison needle, and the leader Scyther springs into protection at the last second, still covered in glue, and
And
blocks the poison needle.
just
And
miraculously just takes the full blunt of the poison needle, which I mean it's kind of dumb in a way, because I mean you're just going to poison yourself, but I mean I guess it's a miraculous move to show that I got your back, thank you for helping us.
and Jesse's just freaking out at this point. She's like, "Everybody, come in together!" And they all and the leader Scyther and Tracey's Scyther are basically working together, and Tracey has his Scyther use Slash, and he just goes in at 1, 2, 3, and he lands like a something straight out of a martial arts film, and all four of Team Rocket's Pokemon hit the ground, and um, Jesse's like, "I've still got my bazooka, you bastard," and um, Ash is like, "All right, I stood by and did what was right, but this is ridiculous." And he sends Pikachu out for a Thunderbolt, and obviously Pikachu's Thunderbolt is god tier at this point.
Yes.
And Scyther just comes in and goes ham with Slash. It's just and they all three end up with mohawks, except
Which is not a bad look for them.
Meowth
Meow.
looks hella painful because his is basically almost being scalped,
Yeah.
and you know
You know, they could
Uh,
have they could have just made me out like a naked cat with a mohawk, and that would have been a lot more funny if they would have
oh,
done that.
it would have been a lot better. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think they went the wrong route with that one, but it's early cartoon, so they probably didn't even think of that.
And we, um, for the first time in a while, we get something different. We get Team Rocket's dashing off again.
Yes,
And, Tracy comes up to Scyther. He's like, that was good shit, Scyther. And, Scyther's, war face kind of thing. And we, we, um, we come back later and we see that the Scyther are in the lake washing the glue off. And the leader Scyther comes up to Tracy's Scyther and holds out a hand, kind of like friendship, gratitude kind of thing. And Tracy's Scyther holds his um, wing up. They kind of stand there, kind of like a brotherhood kind of thing. Not so much a passing of the torch because obviously Tracy's Scyther is going off with him, which is kind of I respect what you did. You didn't have to, but
but thank you.
warrior's way and all that.
Yes,
And the swarm is seen walking off into the distance, and Scyther's kind of giving his final goodbyes, and um, and then we unfortunately because it wasn't focused on him, it's kind of left to Ash to kind of tie a bow on things, and he's not very eloquent, but he does a decent job here. He's like that battle meant a lot for Scyther. Um, More than any Pokemon Center ever, could do in terms of healing him. And Tracy's like, hey, he probably feels stronger than he ever did. And Scyther turns around and is like, you're damn right. And um
and
and
it's at this point in the episode that when Tracy calls back Scyther, and then Tracy's like, I caught a Scyther, and Ash is like, well, let me kind of tell you how to do that. So watch my arm. And he goes in to
he
show his little 1-2 pose for catching Pokemon. And Misty, Togepi, and Pikachu are on the ground like, here goes another Ash Ketchum moment trying to rain on somebody else's parade. Doug?
and we basically get the this Ash teaching Tracy his stance as the narrator takes us out. Um, Tracy has a new friend and Scyther has a new friend as well, and um Scyther also has a new reason to believe it in itself as we close things off on a nice looking sunset.
And that is how we end this week's episode. Good episode, Doug.
So yeah, you're 100% right. It's a heck of a lot better than Meowth,
Yes.
but once again, low bar.
Very low bar, but definitely is a whole lot better. So I mean, I'll take this over the Meowth episode any day. Not that it was a terrible episode. I mean, we made it very entertaining, but yeah, it was something.
Yeah, no kidding.
But Doug, so to end this episode, what would you give this on your Dougometer out of all episodes?
I think I would have to give this episode a solid 3.5. I think. I mean, obviously, we got one of the three main characters catching a new Pokemon. Um, we had some underlying themes. Talking about having belief in yourself and finding a purpose and wanting to prove to yourself and maybe to others that you're worthy. And we had Tracey Scyther's redemption, and the leader Scyther accepting Tracey Scyther, and we saw them amicably walk off and go their own ways, and we saw the forging of a relationship between Scyther and Tracey. And we had the little funny comedy moment at the end, which I could have taken or left.
But they did have a lot of one-liners in this episode when it came to haircuts.
Oh, yeah, it was a sneaky, funny episode because obviously Jessie losing her hair like that was comedy gold.
Yes. So, but yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid 3 with everything that you said. So I do feel that this was a decent episode. It was a meh episode, but I mean it like going through it scene by scene and actually reviewing it was definitely a lot better than watching it the first time through. So yeah, I'll give it a solid 3. But do you have anything else to add on this week's episode, bro?
No, I don't think so. It just it always feels good to get one in, and it's always a good time to review it. So
Yep.
yeah, it's good to be back on the horse in a new year.
All right. Well, that being said, bro, go ahead and say goodbye, Doug.
Bye, Doug.
And this is Professor Chris G telling all of you, don't miss next week's episode, everybody, because we have another one coming on up, because we don't ever take breaks. That's a lie. But we'll see you again next week for another episode. Have a good night, everyone.